U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry spoke on the phone with both Israeli and Palestinian leaders today in an attempt to revive Middle East peace talks, which received a setback yesterday. The Obama administration said it was disappointed with unhelpful actions by both sides in the conflict. Israel has announced plans to build new settlements in East Jerusalem, and Palestinian officials applied to join 15 international agencies. For more, I'm joined now by Robert Danin. He's a former State Department official. He's now at the Council on Foreign Relations. I imagine you have some sympathy for Secretary of State John Kerry. This is an intractable problem that's received another setback. When the administration says it's unhelpful actions, do they really mean by both sides in the conflict?
Right now, the administration's not trying to blame either side specifically. It's saying it's both sides who are to blame for the impasse that we find ourselves in now. And the situation looks pretty dire at this moment.
Okay, spell it out for me, Robert, what the Palestinians did that was seen as unhelpful and why.
What the Palestinians did was yesterday they submitted an application for 15 UN or various international conventions. This was in contravention of an understanding they had with the United States that they would not seek accession to any of these things as long as the negotiations were taking place. Palestinians said they could do this because Israel had not released prisoners by March 29th, as they had promised to do. And so each side is blaming the other for not fulfilling its pledges. Both sides are saying the other's to blame for progress not being made. The U.S. is saying, let's not play the blame game, but we need to get out of this impasse.
Was Washington taken by surprise?
Washington seems to have been taken by surprise by the Palestinian move. The focus had been on trying to get the Israelis to release the last tranche of prisoners. There had been a group of 104 prisoners total that were to be released. Israel released 3/4 of that group. They were set to release the fourth group by March 29th. They hadn't. The U.S. was starting to float proposals to widen it that would include other things, more prisoners. There was talk about Jonathan Pollard possibly being released. And in the midst of all of this, the Palestinians went ahead and moved forward. And that seems to have set back this effort to broaden the package that would allow them to get past what is a end of April deadline that the United States has imposed for negotiations to succeed.
Okay, Robert, you started by saying the situation looks pretty dire. Secretary Kerry has invested a huge amount of his personal political capital in trying to push forward these Middle East peace prospects. What do you think the chances are, realistically, that he can get them back on track now?
I think the chances look pretty poor right now. Both sides are blaming the other. They've been negotiating now for 8 months. By all accounts, they've not covered any ground, reached any understanding or agreement on any of the issues of importance. They've been focused on largely on procedural issues. The Secretary of State has put this 9-month deadline that runs out at the end of April. Now the United States is desperately trying to extend the deadline because if we run out of time, then no one knows what happens afterwards. So it's looking pretty dire, and I think the United States is just trying to find a formula that could buy some more time. But right now what they're saying is they want the parties to come up with a way forward, and that's not likely to happen.
Okay, Robert Danin, thanks very much for coming in. And next time I'm going to get you in and we're going to be in more optimistic mood about the Middle East. Let's hope.
I hope so.
Thanks very much.